Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Still working on the C10 cab here, and this is the final steps process before masking to get it ready for its last coat of primer and then into paint. I just wanted to point out a couple of how-tos on this before I go any further, just because I didn't touch it in the last video and it is kind of important, so I'm going to do it now. I want to show you guys, I have not done this door jamb yet. The rest of it's all been done, but this door jamb has not. And I wanted to get into, like, how do you sand these really tight areas, especially in the channel here and inside the drip rail here. What is best to get in there, because if you use sandpaper, a lot of times you'll end up cutting into other areas and not in the crevices you need to. So what I like to use is this stuff right here. They're 3M Scotch pads. These are the red color. The part number on that is 07447. They normally come in boxes of 20 if you get them off of Amazon or a lot of other places. Some part stores will sell them individually, but if you got a big project like this, for the price of them, you might as well buy a whole box of 20, just because you're gonna go through quite a few. On something like this, where I'm doing a whole paint job on an entire vehicle, inside and out, I may actually go through the whole box. I'm definitely gonna go through about 10 of them for sure. So, you know, give you an idea of how many you might use. And the best way to use these is any way that works for you. Fold them in half, fold them in quarters, lay them flat, whatever works. But you just want to, you know, basically use them to really just get in these tiny little areas. And like I said, if you need to fold them in half like this to get into those areas, especially on areas like that, definitely I fold them into half and, you know, just really kind of push into those areas. And it does take a little bit longer than sandpaper, but as you can see, like right here, I've gotten into that corner area and I have not cut through on either side of here into my epoxy. So those work really good for those little crevices. Again, drip rails, in between seams too, especially if you've got two body panels that seam together, getting right in between that crack. Those work great. So definitely recommend using those. And then as far as the rest of this, just have to do this again, this door jamb, and then get it masked up. And then for the masking process, I like to use the 3M yellow tape. This is 1.5 inch width. They make it 1 inch width, I think 3/4 inches, all the way up to, I believe, 2 inches, or yeah, anyway, they make a bunch of different widths. So whatever works for you, you know, you be the judge of that. I do like that stuff though. It sticks really well, and it lasts. I mean, it sticks good. If you got to put it away for like a week or so, the masking will hold a fairly decent amount of time. So that's what I use. Obviously, there's other types of masking tape you can use. I will say that for something like this, where I'm just going to put some primer on it, a lot of times I just use newspapers too to mask up the windows and stuff. If you guys are still reading newspapers or have access to them, that works fine for the primer. Definitely when you're doing paint though, I wouldn't use newspapers, too much of a risk of contamination. So for that, this is usually what I use. This is also a 3M product, and it's a 06723. Comes in a roll that's about 3 foot wide, but the pieces extend out to 12 feet wide, and it's a 400-foot roll. So it'll last you quite a while. I've had that roll for probably about 4 years. It's almost gone now, but it does last quite a while. And it's great for, excuse me, it's great for either like masking off an entire car, or just, you know, cut it up and you can use it for your different openings. Last time I bought that roll, I believe it was around 30 bucks on Amazon. With the price of inflation now, who knows how much it costs now, but it used to be fairly inexpensive. So I recommend that, or any other type of good plastic sheeting is what I would use for doing your final paint. Again, with primer, I'm not quite as picky. Some guys might be, so you might just want to use plastic for everything. One more thing that I would like to mention to you guys, though, is puppy again. Oh, yeah. One more thing that I would like to mention to you guys is before I get it masked up, whether it's going to get another coat of primer or it's going into final paint, what I like to do is use the red Scotch pad to go over everything again, mainly the flat surfaces, just to make sure I didn't miss any spots, just to make sure everything is roughed up so the next stage of paint or primer will adhere. You don't want to have any smooth spots and where your paint might lift. So hitting it with a Scotch pad just kind of gives you one more little extra layer of protection, I guess, against that. So I do like to hit everything with a Scotch pad and then mask it up, wax and grease remover the whole thing, and paint it. So just wanted to point that out, just to be meticulous, I guess. Okay, fast forward roughly 60, 80 minutes, somewhere in there. She's all masked up. The cab is ready for its last coat of primer. I should say last 3 coats, because I'm probably going to shoot 3 heavy coats on it before my final wet sand. And I'll kind of do a walk around to show you guys how it looks. And I will point out, because I have finished off the inside ready for final paint and it's all sanded, I have masked everything off like I would for final paint, just so I don't get any overspray inside the cabinet. So anywhere there's even a little hole, like where the grommets go, the door grommets and stuff like that, everything's been masked off. And then I do not remember if I went over this in a previous video, but this is the primer gun that I use. This has got a 2mm tip, and I just got it off of Amazon. Where I only do paint and body side of stuff as a hobby on the side. I don't do it professionally. I don't spend a lot of money on my paint guns. Both my paint guns I've spent under $100 for. While they do get the job done, I have used expensive C10s, and yeah, an expensive gun definitely atomizes better, and you get a little bit better laydown with your paint, especially if you're doing metallics and stuff. But from my experience, the cheap paint guns, they work just fine as well. And again, this is going to get shot with the PPG K36 primer and the K201 activator hardener. I'm going to do 3 heavy coats again on this, and it will be ready for final sanding and ready for paint, finally. So, one thing I'll mention before I do spray this, I will wipe the whole thing down with some PPG wax and grease remover, and then I'll go over the whole thing with a tack cloth before I spray it. It doesn't matter if I'm doing base clear or if I'm just doing epoxies or primers. I always wipe with a tack cloth before I paint, just because it reduces any contaminants you might have. And to me, that's just as important with your base layers as it is your base and clear. So it helps getting rid of any, dirt, hairs, small particles and stuff that may be left behind when you wipe it down with the wax and grease remover. So it's ready for that final primer. So go ahead and hit it out, spray it, whatever you want to say, and I'll be back. So that's it for this video. Next time you see the cab, it'll be wearing its final coat of primer. Thanks again, you guys, for watching. And as always, if you guys want to see more, just subscribe, and then you get some latest updates of how things are going in the shop, how things are going with the C10, and there'll be more to come, as always. So, thanks again for watching. Till next time, everyone. See ya.